Okay. Members of the audience who wish to address the focus group are requested to complete a speaker card available at the podium against the back of the council chamber. Please submit the completed card to the clerk before the item is called, preferably before the meeting begins. Material may be emailed to planningweb@cityofmerced.gov, no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Please specify which portion of the agenda you are commenting on, for example, report item number or public comment. Your comments will be presented to the focus group at the appropriate time. Any correspondence received after 1 p.m. will be distributed to the focus group and retained for the official record.
Okay, thank you, Leah. I will welcome everybody to the August 27th, 2025 meeting of our Citizens Advisory Focus Group. This is our first meeting. I want to welcome everybody here. Looking forward to a series of really productive meetings. We're going to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance, and I could ask Mayor Pro Tem Boyle. She's a little nervous, but bear with her. She's going to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Boyle. Roll call.
Okay. Joseph Bauer. Sarah Boyle.
Here.
Colton Dennis.
Here.
Keith Ensminger.
Here.
Anthony Gonzalez.
Here.
Jeremiah Griggins. Cheryl Hirsch. April Holloway.
Present.
Tammy Johnson. Cynthia Kelly.
Here.
Steve Maxey. Matt Serrato.
Here.
Umberto Sandoval.
Present.
And Curtis Thomas.
Here.
Thank you. And Mayor, we do have one request to speak. Arturo Martinez, Jr.
Okay, thank you, Leah. All right, so move on to public comment. We have one request to speak. If anybody would like to speak, now's the time. This is for non-agendized item. Our agendized item is essentially just our initial report. So everybody's welcome to speak during that as well. But now 3 minutes, and we'll have Mr. Arturo Martinez. Listen to his voice here, but this is the one of the best voices in Merced, right?
Thank you, Mayor. So to start off, my name is Arturo Martinez Jr. I'm here today as a member of the City of Merced community. I wear many hats in our community, so today I'm here just as a citizen and resident of the City of Merced. So let me start off by saying good evening and thank you to the Citizens Advisory Focus Group for your work. I know you're barely starting. As a Merced resident, I want to emphasize one key issue in the new general plan. Our city needs to put dense housing at the heart of its growth strategy. Right now, too much of our land is tied up in R1 single-family zoning. That worked in the past, but it no longer matches today's needs. The state has assigned Merced over 10,000 new housing units. We cannot meet that number with more single-family tracts. We need apartments, duplexes, and mixed-use projects that reflect the real needs of students, seniors, families, and workers. Dense housing brings affordability by expanding supply and offering options at different price points. It supports local businesses and transit by putting more people within walking distance of shops, schools, and jobs. And it helps keep our growth compact, protecting farmland and saving taxpayers from the higher costs of sprawl. We should be smart about where density goes. Around UC Merced, downtown, along transit corridors like Bellevue and M Street, and near the future high-speed rail station. These locations are perfectly suited for transit-oriented development that makes Merced more connected and more vibrant. Dense mixed-use growth is also about fairness and resilience. South Merced and other underserved neighborhoods deserve investment in housing, parks, and services. At the same time, compact growth reduces long commutes, cuts air pollution, and helps us prepare for climate challenges like flooding and heat. Greenways, shade, and sustainable design must go hand in hand with housing. My ask is simple. Let's make dense housing a cornerstone of the new general plan. Merced cannot reach its housing equity or climate goals by expanding more single-family subdivisions. By planning for density in the right places, we can build an affordable, sustainable, and inclusive Merced that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Lee, anyone else?
We don't have anyone else.
All right. And that will take us to our report, seeing nothing on consent and no action items, to our report. And this is a report from our consultant.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Brent, and he's with Mintier Harnish, Brent Gibbons, and he's going to go ahead and, oops, hang on a second. Sorry about that. It's me. Okay. We're going to give you more than 5 minutes, but that's okay. Just ignore that, Brent. All right, take it away.
Bring it up on the screen as well.
All right, thank you, Lee. All right, feel free to proceed in any manner you see fit to, Brent, if you want to stop at certain times to take questions, or if any members would like to, of the Citizens Advisory Focus Group would like to questions asked or ask questions, just we can stop at certain points to do so.
Sure, if we can pull up Teams as well. Perfect. Well, good evening, everybody. Great to be with you tonight. This is the first CAFG meeting for the Merced General Plan. This is a monumental step that the city is taking, looking for the next 20 to 30 years on the possibilities that Merced has within the county, and also what Merced has for all community members that live here. My name is Brent Gibbons. I am the project director, and I will be assisting other planners in our office overseeing this effort along with your city staff here. So tonight I'm going to go through some of our meeting objectives. So what is the CAFG? What is your role as part of the advisory group? The project team is much larger than who you see up here today, including myself and city staff. We'll go over all the fun stuff. So organizational protocols, what your responsibility is as part of this team and effort, and how that plays into the overall general plan and downtown station area plan update. I'll walk through what a general plan is. The community engagement strategy is part of this almost 3-year effort. And then what we'll do is we'll walk through the downtown station area plan and then end the evening with a discussion with all of you, where we'll like to start to get your opinions on this effort as we kick this off. Because as I mentioned, this is just the beginning. This is the initiation of the project. We're right at the forefront. And so if we start to dial in some of the expectations by you, the CAFG members at the beginning, we would like to try to work those in through this process. So the project team, the prime consultant is Mintier Harnish. I'm a principal planner with Mintier Harnish. We're a planning and consulting firm. We're based out of the city of Sacramento. General plans is our bread and butter. This is what we do. We've done 70 general plans across the state for more than half the counties in the state and a whole host of cities. We've also have extensive experience here in the Central Valley. Several of our planners have worked for local municipalities and have worked for jurisdictions such as Merced County and other cities within the region. Shown here on the screen is Michael Gibbons. He is our project manager. Unfortunately, he's sick, but he is joining us tonight and will jump in via Teams later in the presentation. And then Jim Harnish, he's our advisor, so he will oversee this project. There are a slew of other planners that work with us, but this is just the core management team from Mintier Harnish. There's a larger group behind us, and as I get into an explanation of what a general plan is and all the different components, you'll understand that we need to have technical experts as part of this overall team. Everything from environmental to traffic, mobility, and economic development. So these are some additional general plan team members. ESA will handle all environmental aspects, air quality, biological resources, and then the eventual environmental impact report, which the state of California requires when you have a project of this size and scale. The Nadelson Dale Group, they'll handle the economic development front. What are the impacts of a plan like this on the city? City revenue, city jobs, regional impacts. What would this plan have on the market, both from an economic perspective and housing perspective? And then DKS, they're gonna handle the mobility and traffic portion. We use the term mobility because traffic is not all about cars. We look beyond that. So the pedestrian, the cyclist, that's all part of a network that influences a community. So we'll evaluate all of those different modes of transportation and alternative modes. When you think of Uber, Lyft, and now we're getting into self-driving cars if you've been in the Bay Area with Waymo or other parts of the country. So this just isn't a general plan update. There's actually two plans as part of this effort. There's a downtown station area plan update, which is running concurrently with the general plan. Now, the downtown station plan is looking at a more specified area within the community focused just on the downtown and the pending high-speed rail station that's moving forward. And as part of that effort, there's a separate team that is working concurrently with our general plan team. And that team is led by WRT. WRT is an urban design and land use firm, and their office in San Francisco is heading up this project. They have extensive experience with station planning and downtown planning, and that's why we brought them into the fold on this effort. We do share some of the same consultants, which we think is important because when you evaluate, for instance, economic development or mobility or infrastructure, even though the downtown station area plan is looking at that smaller footprint, you need to know how that fits within the greater context of the city of Merced. So up here is a list of all of our additional sub-consultants for the downtown station area plan team. Then we have city staff. So I'm gonna hand it over to Leah, and Leah's gonna walk through the different members of the city staff and their role on the project.
Thank you. Excuse my voice. So in the back there, I saw Frank Quintero walk in. So, yep, I think you all know Frank. He's our project manager for the downtown station area plan. And here we have, I'll let her introduce herself.
Johnny Land, I'm the acting planning manager, and I, along with Leah, will be the general plan project managers for this effort.
We work together in development services and other parts of our team that aren't with us tonight. Francisco Mendoza Gonzalez, he's our acting principal planner, and Valeria Renteria, she's our associate planner. And I want to thank Scott back there. I think he's still there. He is. Oh, no, Scott. Thank you, Scott, for coming tonight. And Jennifer Flockman, our PIO, who's also been a big help. So we appreciate that and that it's your city team.
And then we have all of you here. And on the screen in front of you is a list of all the 14 members of the CAFG. I know we already did a roll call, but I'd actually like all of you to introduce yourself. I think the easiest place to start is with you, Cheryl. So if you don't mind introducing yourself for everybody here and who is watching.
And I'll go ahead and unmute you if you just go ahead and speak right into your microphone. I've unmuted you.
Airport Authority.
Joe Bauer from Recreation and Parks.
Hi, I'm Curtis Thomas. I'm from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission.
Colton Dennis with the Arts and Culture Advisory Commission.
Anthony Gonzalez with Planning Commission.
Cynthia Kelly, District 3.
Sarah Boyle, Merced City Council, District 5, Mayor Pro Tem.
Matthew Serrato, Mayor, City of Merced.
Steve Maxey, I think I'm the at-large appointee.
I'm Tammy Johnson. I'm with District 4.
I am April Holloway, the community member for District 5.
Humberto Sandoval Jr., District 6.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. As you can tell that there are a variety of individuals with a variety of backgrounds and niches. This is on purpose. This brings all the different types of perspectives to this project. So when you fulfill your role as a CAFG member, you can advocate for the niches that you represent, the community at large, or as part of your elected or appointed positions with the city. And so a general plan, as I'll get into, has a whole variety of topics that are required by the state, and all of your roles feed into all of those different topics. So there is an interconnectedness as part of this effort. But I would like to continue on and kind of get through, some may say, the more mundane part of this, and this is going through organizational structure and your role as a CAFG member. So shown on the screen, this is the organizational structure for the project. At the top, we have our city council. The city council is the final adoptive body when it comes to this general plan, so they will make the final decision based off recommendations from a series of other groups, committees, and commissions down the line. Next, we have the Planning Commission. Planning Commission typically reviews planning projects, and then in this case, will make a recommendation on the general plan up to the City Council. Below that, we have our city staff. You saw the city staff team. Below city staff, we have yourselves, the Citizens Advisory Group, and then what's known as a technical working group. The technical working group is composed of department heads, and department heads have more of the expertise as it pertains to specific topics, infrastructure, public works, engineering within the city. And so before documents go out, we do route them by the department heads in a technical working group just to make sure accuracy is there, or if we need to make any further edits before it comes forward to the CAFG and then out to the public for review. Your role as the CAFG is advisory to city staff, the planning commission, and then eventually the city council. The two bottom members here is the general plan consultant team, including myself, and the downtown station area plan consultant team. So we report all the way up through the chain and right through the CAFG. As I'd mentioned, the CAFG is comprised of 14 members. All of you were appointed by the city council. The CAFG will act in an advisory role, as I'd mentioned, to the planning commission and to the city council and help making a final recommendation on the general plan and its direction, including the adoption of the environmental impact report down the road. I think what's important to understand here is what your role is to help understand the community needs. Your role is to serve as the pulse. So when we bring documents and deliverables forward, we're asking for you to take the time to review and provide meaningful feedback, opinions, recommended changes and modifications so that when something goes public, we're bringing something out that is acceptable and meets the expectations of the community. Having a CAFG like yourself really enforces a grassroots effort of this plan, and that it's not so much what the consultant team is bringing forward. We're echoing what we're hearing in the community, running it by the CAFG, and then it rolls out to the public. So you have a critical role as part of this process. You will be reviewing and commenting on all aspects of the general plan and the downtown station area plan. You'll provide feedback and recommendations to the project staff, so city staff here, who will then work with us, the consultant team, and provide us direction. The consultant team in this case is like an extension of city staff. So we work at the direction of city staff and then in the end, city council. Being a member of the CAFG, I like to think of it as an ambassador role. So your role is to spread information about the general plan and provide more localized context and feedback for members of the community. I think of you as a pillar as part of this effort to help get the plan out and publicized and maybe break it down into digestible ways. Our team is working behind the scenes on doing the same when we're publicizing events and bringing the document forward. We do ask as part of this process that you do attend community workshops if you are available in order to understand the pulse. Being at a community workshop, talking with community members and listening into some of the issues, concerns, or opportunities they think the city should leverage is very important as part of this effort. Not required, but just a recommendation. There will be homework as part of this. So when deliverables come out, we will ask that you take the time to read them and bring forth your comments and questions to this meeting. It's a public forum, it's being televised, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and there are members of the audience here who would like to hear what the CAFG has to weigh in on as you are actually making that recommendation up the chain to Planning Commission and eventually Council. There are a series of ground rules as part of being a CAFG member. It's a public meeting. If you have any further questions on how public meeting works, we can have you talk with city staff and city management on that process. So decision-making by the CAFG should occur through dialogue and consensus. We all want to try to work together as part of this effort. I understand that the individuals on here may have differing opinions on where Merced should head, maybe what development looks like or doesn't look like. And so we want this to be a productive dialogue through this effort. So where we can reach consensus, it's important to try to do so. There are times where we'll probably have to reach a vote and determine which path to take. And if that's necessary, we'll do that at that point. For decisions that can't be reached by consensus, we will need to have a quorum in order to reach a vote to proceed on certain topics. For the CAFG, you'll really find that tied when we look at the vision. So we'll be crafting a vision for the general plan. The CAFG will weigh in and make a recommended vote to the Planning Commission. Any alternatives processing when we're looking at future land use changes, a recommendation from the CAFG, as well as the general plan policy document moving forward. We're going to try to keep these meetings on the same day and times as possible. So right now we're aiming for Wednesdays at 6 p.m. But I do want to point out that in some instances, we may need to shift that, and that's mainly due to the availability of the council chambers. So here I've just listed our next 3 meetings. So meeting 2, 3, and 4 are earmarked. Wednesday, October 8th, you'll see we had to switch to Monday, November 10th, and then Wednesday, January 28th. That's just the first 4. There are several more that will follow throughout the project. And as we move into 2026, we'll be sure to work with city staff to provide those dates for you moving forward, and then the topics that are tied to each of those. Okay, I'll pause here and just ask if there are any questions about organizational structure or your role.
Anybody have any questions? Would somebody sitting over there like to ask a question? Because I want to see, if you ask a question, there's the button or a little keypad in front of you where it says request to speak. You can press that button and it'll come up right here. All right, so I had Dias 2, which I got the reason I asked is I got to figure out all the thing on my little computer monitor right here. So Dias 2, I think, is you, Keith.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have my button pressed. Is
perfect.
it coming up?
Yeah, it's come up. You're staff 1.
Yep.
And Cheryl, could you press, if I guess right, do all of you have keypads in front of you? All 5? How many are there on the press wing of the 4? Could you, either Cheryl or Joe, press the one on the far end? That should be staff 4, if I'm guessing right. What do you think, sir? Yes. Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Keith, go ahead.
Well, thanks for the presentation. I view my role as, our role as getting engaged with community, and you spoke about organizing different kinds of workshops and things in addition to some of the things you're listed here, and just wanted to make sure that we're included in those things, because I'd be very interested in participating in that and speaking with the community and learning as much as we can about their goals and desires for what we're doing.
Yeah, and we'll work with city staff to make sure. There'll be notification that goes out citywide for all of the community workshops or community meetings pertaining to the general plan, but city staff will also reach out and remind the CAFG of upcoming items that you may be interested in attending.
So are you going to be organizing some of those outreach events, or are you going to be waiting to hear from us about different locations where and venues where you could go?
Well, right now, we'll be coordinating with city staff on venues that are available at the time at the different touch points within the project. But I will ask if there are any venues that the CAFG feels are the best places to hold events or other locations within the community. We're open ears to figuring that out. I would recommend contacting city staff for that information. But we're already starting. I'll get into it. We have a workshop already scheduled for late October. It'll be actually held here at City Hall. But if there are other locations you think would be better served, or maybe reaching parts of the community that are underserved, please let us know, and then we can adjust as we move through the project.
Mr. Gonzalez, do you have a question, or that was just I appreciate it. Help us figure it out up here. All right, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed with the presentation.
How many people attended the all hands kickoff with council and commission? How many people? Well, I know the council members did. Well, I know that. A few of you. So I'll preface that this part of the presentation looks eerily familiar for those of you who were at that meeting. And the reason why we do this is for consistency. Not everybody here attended that meeting. Members of the audience, I do recognize new faces who are sitting here, and those who are watching through live stream, radio, or other forms of social media. This is new to them too. So if you've seen this, you'll just become an expert, and then we'll expect you to go out and give the presentation at some point within the community. But I just want to walk through what a general plan is for those who are not familiar with the process. So what is a general plan? Well, Merced has one. Merced has a 2030 general plan, and a general plan is actually a requirement by the state of California. So every jurisdiction, city, county, town, incorporated, I will preface, has to have a general plan. And a general plan typically represents a long-term vision for a community. I like to think of it as like a blueprint for the future. It looks out 20 to 30 years and establishes a series of goals, policies, and then eventual implementation programs. Think of them as like action items that a city takes over that time period to implement those goals and policies. And they focus on, a general plan focuses on a variety of different topics, which I'll go through, which have implications on land use decisions, financial decisions by the community, infrastructure decisions, even annexation decisions. So a general plan's characteristics are pretty much summed up in what's on the slide. They're general, so it's inherent, it's in the name. It's vague, it's broad, it looks out 20 to 30 years. It's comprehensive, not just land use, mobility, community character, public art, safety, environment, infrastructure, and long-term. So when you think of a general plan, sometimes you have to couch what Merced is now. Think of the snapshot of Merced now, and it's really, what do you envision Merced being? So you have to really look forward and plan ahead for what the community's expectations are for Merced, let's say in 2045, 2050 timeframe. This is probably one of my favorite graphics, if I could nerd out on this a bit, but I think this is the best way to actually think of a general plan. It's in this pyramid format. So a general plan is your base. It's your foundation of the pyramid. As you work up the pyramid, you become more specific. As you work down, it's more general. As you work up, it's more detailed and more short-term. So the general plan, everything is built off of your general plan. So a general plan is the guiding document. Then you have specific plans, which are focused in more targeted areas. Think of the downtown station area plan. That's just focused of where the downtown and the high-speed rail station would be, and that is encompassed within the general plan. As you work up the pyramid, you get into zoning and engineering standards. Those implement your specific plans and your general plans. Zoning, if you're not familiar, that's the teeth. So the general plan lays out this area of the community can have single-family homes. The zoning will dictate how tall are the homes, what's the separation between the homes, or you might be familiar with how high can your fence be, where can your fence be, how many lights can you have on the front of your house. That's all part of the zoning, and it's an implementation of your general plan. Now, where most community members interact with planning is that very top part, and that's your building permits. And that is the peak of where we come from the general plan all the way up to the top. And that building permit process implements your zoning standards and has to be consistent all the way through. So as the Planning Commission and the City Council are aware, when a project comes before either of those bodies, city staff here has to look at that project and make sure, one, it's consistent with your general plan, it's consistent with your zoning, and it meets other state law and local requirements. So you start to see everything fits within that pyramid. And the state does require that your general plan is internally consistent. When it's not, you run into issues, and then we get into a whole host of other permitting requirements that I know the Planning Commission is very familiar with. So as part of the required general plan, the state says you have to cover certain topics. So these topics are mandated, the ones shown here on the screen, and they're outlined in what's called the general plan guidelines, and the state of California puts this out. So every jurisdiction has to follow this guidebook here. So land use, circulation, housing, conservation, open space, safety, noise, environmental justice, those all need to be covered in your general plan. They don't need to have their own section or their own chapter. They just have to have goals, policies, and they need to be recognized within the plan. Most general plans will have these as each of these required, what they call elements. You can think of them as chapters. They'll have them as standalone, but it's not necessary. And as we work through this general plan, we'll work with city staff and use the CAFG to find out the best organizational structure for Merced going forward. There is not a one-size-fits-all as part of this. The one difference here is the last bullet, that's air quality. Air quality is only mandated for Central Valley communities. So Merced, being Central Valley community, has to have an air quality either element within your general plan or it needs to be covered as part of another element. And that's just a state mandate looking at curbing air pollution within the valley. We could spend hours on this topic, new state requirements, and I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details because as the CAFG, you will get into them as we start to talk about different goals and policies throughout this process. But one of our foundational pieces of this effort is to make sure that your plan is legally compliant with state and federal law. And a lot of state laws have come up since your last general plan was adopted, your 2030 general plan. And so we want to make sure that this plan meets all of these state requirements relating from environmental justice, tribal consultation, climate change adaptation. There's a whole host of new safety laws, fire, flooding, etc. So we'll cover a whole gamut of these as part of the effort. And then also what we'll do is within the general plan, we'll highlight certain goals and policies that implement the state law. So there's no confusion on where we have to include certain policies for compliance. So at the onset of the update, when the city council was considering moving forward with the general plan and the downtown station area plan, they had a series of themes, I'll say, that are the focus of this update that they'd like to have implemented as part of this effort. One of them is to perform a comprehensive update of the 2030 general plan. You may be wondering, comprehensive what? So general plans are usually updated in two different ways. You have a technical update, which means you just update 1 or 2 chapters, or you have a comprehensive update, which is looking at it holistically and updating or touching every single chapter of the general plan. And as part of this effort, the city staff direction of city council felt it was important to do a comprehensive update. Enough has changed since the last general plan, the last 2030 general plan, and enough state laws have been implemented over that time span that it's good to have a refresh and crack open every element that the city currently has. Also, it's important to make sure that the general plan, we talked about consistency, integrates all other plans that have been adopted since your last general plan. There are a series of them. And as part of that, we want to make sure that all those plans are incorporated, referenced, any annexations that have occurred since the last general plan or pending ones are covered and mitigated for through the environmental impact report as part of this effort. So I touched on the fact that there's also the downtown station area plan. That's more like a specific plan in a targeted area, but it is part of your community. And so it's critical that the general plan incorporates that effort within this and recognizes the importance of downtown and the future high-speed rail station. So that's where both of those plans will become integrated. It's also important that we make sure that there's opportunity and access for all community members to become involved members of this plan. So we do plan on having all of our documents translated into Spanish and Hmong. We're working with pillars of the community like yourselves to get word out, maybe through different avenues where maybe individuals aren't quite as tied into some of these meetings. I know sometimes public meetings can be daunting if you're not familiar with the process. And I would ask of you, of the CAFG, if you have any ideas of local organizations or groups that would be good to tap into as a resource, we would like to get that information. We have a list that we've been working with city staff on, but any ideas that you can offset would be really beneficial. Again, it's a grassroots effort, and we want to make sure that we can collect as much information and voices from the community as possible. This effort should also capture emerging trends and best practices. Not to say that these trends, won't be here in 20 to 30 years, but there are some best practices that have occurred in planning. We're talking about corridor planning. A public comment earlier talked about higher density housing, if that is something that the city would want to entertain. Mixed use nodes, different types of street infrastructure and mobility. We'll look at all of that, weigh the pros and cons about what's applicable for Merced, and then if that is something that the city chooses to implement as part of the general plan, we'll evaluate that. We'll also ensure state compliance. That list of all of those new laws, we'll cover that as well. We'll update the general plan vision. Since the last update, the 2030 general plan, new generations have come into play. And those generations may have different views about what Merced is and what Merced can be. So we want to make sure that we reflect that as part of this effort. And so you, the CAFG, will have a role in helping to craft the vision based off community feedback. That'll happen later this fall, early into next year. Also, we want to make sure that the plan is engaging, that it has a collaborative effort base to it. And so there are several engagement opportunities that we've lined up throughout the effort just to make sure that everyone has the ability to join and provide their feedback. So I know the schedule looks small on here, but this just provide you the scope of the project. It's just shy of 3 years. That's standard for a general plan, all the way from project initiation, where we are now, to the adoption, which is scheduled for the end of 2027. So I'll just briefly walk through the different phases of the project. So we're in phase 1. This is project initiation. We're still at the forefront. This is the beginning, the first CAFG meeting. As part of this project initiation, this is where we dial in the scope of work, the engagement strategy with your city staff, planning commission, council. We work with you, the CAFG, to get off the ground. And then we start to look at existing conditions on the ground today, which leads us into phase 2. In order to plan for a community and help facilitate the discussion and provide the pros and cons to you, the CAFG, and your decision makers, you have to understand the community. And so in this phase, we'd like to call this existing conditions. So we look at an evaluation, think of it as a snapshot of Merced today. So Merced in 2025, 2026. What is the economic climate? What's the housing climate? How's the school system? How are the roadways? How is safety conducted from a natural and man-made perspective? How does the city fiscally operate? And so what we do is we take that snapshot and we provide what's known as an existing conditions and trends report, which provides that contextual starting point of understanding where the community is, so then you can plan from that point forward. That'll be one of the first deliverables that the CAFG will review, and that'll be, I believe, at your next meeting. You'll have an opportunity to review that and weigh in. Third phase, that's the community vision. So once you understand where Merced is now, then we can start having the discussion of where does Merced want to go? What does it want to look like? There's a whole host of community engagement events tied to this. The community can weigh in, craft a vision, and the CAFG will look through all of the feedback collected, help pull together a vision which will move its way forward through the Planning Commission, and then eventually that vision will be adopted by the City Council. It's important at this stage too to understand that the vision will drive the plan. So all the goals and policies and programs as part of the general plan will need to be consistent with the vision. That ties back to that pyramid that we talked about at the beginning. Preparing the general plan. This is the meat of the document, the policy document. All the goals, policies based on those elements that we walked through, land use, circulation, safety. You'll have all of your goals and policies in here, and then your implementing programs or actions. And think of the implementing programs or actions as a to-do list for your city council. Your city council will prioritize which of those programs and actions move forward over the lifespan of a general plan, so 20 to 30 years. And then the state requires that every jurisdiction actually track those actions, make sure that they're actually follow through a general plan annual report. And typically your planning staff is the one who prepares that, and it works its way through city management and is reported out every year to the state. So now you have a plan. What are the impacts? It's a good question. We don't know, because we don't know where this plan is heading. We don't know what the vision is yet, but we will analyze that to make sure that if there are any impacts that arise from the plan, that they're mitigated for as part of the program EIR. So environmental impact report is required by the state of California. That process takes about 9 to 10 months of the entire general plan process. CAFG will have a role in reviewing that document as well when it goes out. And then phase 6, this is what we all hope for, is that there's enough feedback collected, expectations are met, voices are heard. You as the advisory role through the CAFG presents a recommended action to the Planning Commission to City Council, and we reach an adoption at the end, which is targeted for the end of 2027. So that's a mouthful. I know it's a lot, but I'll stop here and ask if there's any questions on what a general plan is.
Questions? Okay, seeing none, I think got a bunch of smart people here, and you laid it out pretty good. So.
Perfect.
Question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, and it's just general, right?
Sure.
I know that we're going to be wrapping this up in 2027. Right now, our general plan goes till 2030.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what we're looking at for titling our next plan? Is it going to be the 2050, the 2060? I think getting that up front, I think will help us establish our vision, right? Are we shooting for 20 years, or are we shooting for 30? What are your guys' thoughts as far as the time frame that we're going to be putting this plan together for?
The horizon year is still under consideration. It's based on data that's available through regional agencies. So right now we're seeing general plans go from the 2045 to 2050.
Okay.
And that's something that we're working in consultation with staff on.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, proceed.
So let's
Oh,
talk about.
Hang on one second. Mr. Thomas.
I'm so sorry.
No, go for it.
I was wondering if you could go into a little bit of detail about the process by which a general plan becomes zoning ordinances. Is that just purely up to the Planning Commission's interpretation of the general plan?
So the general plan, not quite. So the zoning will implement the general plan, and the way to think about a general plan is every parcel within the community has a general plan designation. And they're residential, commercial, industrial, office, mixed use. From there, you have a zoning designation that implements that general plan. And so when you create a new general plan, what you typically do within 2 to 3 years, there's a time frame a city has to update their zoning for consistency. You'll look at the zoning code, you'll look back at what the underlying general plan is and make sure that they're consistent. So for example, you may have a general plan mixed use designation that allows 5 to 30 dwelling units an acre, but you may have several zoning districts that implement that. Maybe one zoning district is 5 to 10, one's 10 to 20, one's 20 to 30, and those are spread throughout the community. So the Planning Commission, when it comes to creating new ordinances, will have to look back at the general plan's direction, and there'll be programs in the general plan that will provide more clarification on that to create those ordinances. But the state typically requires within 2 years of adoption, you have to update your zoning, because undoubtedly there will be changes. To what scale, I'm not sure, because we're not at that point yet.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, go ahead.
Okay. So I talked about community engagement. And what I'll do right now is I'll walk through our outreach program. Now, if you were part of the All Hands Kickoff, this is not the logo that was brought forward. This is a new one. And I would say this is reason why we have grassroots efforts like this, because the council weighed in, the Planning Commission weighed in, the community weighed in and said, ooh, that logo, we'd like something different. We want something unique, something uniquely Merced. So this is a great example of how this plan is already starting off with reflecting the expectations of the community. So the logo shown on the screen, this is now the new logo for the project. And the purpose of this is to make this recognizable. So it's a branding scheme that'll be used throughout the project. So our project website will have this logo. Every document will have this logo. Posters, flyers, social media will all include this logo so that when you see this, you'll recognize, oh, this is the general plan effort. And as part of this, Imagine Merced is the theme. So it's imagining, looking forward, and thinking outside the box for what Merced could be in the next 20 to 30 years. We do have a project website. This is a snapshot shown here on the screen. The website is imaginemerced.com. Think of this as the catch-all. It's the library for the entire project, not just for the general plan, but for the downtown station area plan as well. Have any of you had an opportunity to look at the website yet? Okay. So the website is divided into the 2 different projects, and each project will have its own set of landing pages. All documents will be posted on there for review. Summaries, links, meetings, notifications will all be part of that website. And what we've highlighted here on the screen, you'll see it says email list, GP comments, and DSAP comments. So on the side, on the far right-hand side, you'll see there's the colored bars down the middle, the orange, the gold, and the blue. Each of those are boxes that we ask the public if they'd like to sign up to receive email notifications about the project, they can. I will say the email list does not go beyond this project. Once the project's done, list goes away. You will only receive emails as it pertains to meetings or deliverable reports that come out for review. If you have a comment, a burning comment, and it's 2 a.m. in the morning and you wake up and said, oh, I really should have said mixed use for that property, not industrial, you can submit a GP comment. And I will tell you, it goes to my email, and it goes to Johnny's email, and Leah's email, and Frank's email. So we all see that. So city staff and the consultant team, we get copies of every comment that comes in, And as part of this effort, on a monthly basis, we'll be compiling all public comments that come in and be posting them. So you can see what the community's saying. It's for transparency purposes. Now, if you have comments related to the Downtown Station Area Plan, click on the blue, submit the comment. The Downtown Station Area Plan, including myself and city staff, will get a copy of those comments as well. If the comment warrants a response, like it's a question that city staff can answer, city staff will respond separately as part of that effort. So the website, think of this as the hub for the project. We will work with city staff on social media. There'll be email blasts. The two here are just examples from other projects. There hasn't been a social media blast yet. They'll be in the form of e-newsletters on Facebook, Instagram, other city social media accounts. We'll get the word out. Again, I'll appeal to the CAFG. If you can think of any other social media platforms that the city has, or any other community groups that would be good to tap into to provide the content for media beyond newsletters or other avenues, please let us know. This really helps expand our outreach within the city. There'll be a series of newsletters. We've actually had one go out already that's shown up on the screen. Newsletters will be in English, Spanish, and we have a Hmong translation that is coming soon on that as well. So we're trying to be inclusive of the dominant languages within the community to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to review and read any engagement materials that go out. These newsletters will be provided at key points within the project. I believe there's 4 or 5 of them planned. So there are certain milestones. This one is focused on project overview. Kind of what I've talked about tonight, just a bit more digestible without hearing me for an hour. We'll have interactive programs that'll be on the website as well. This is a snapshot of another project we're doing down in the Palm Springs area. This is actual social mapping. It's through a company called Maptionary that we partner with. This allows community members to drop pins on the map if you're familiar with similar styles of engagement. So if there are areas you think warrant, a need for more infrastructure, more housing, if you have concerns over an area or you think an area should be used as leverage as part of the plan, you can drop that pin and then it's made public. So everybody can see everyone's thoughts and opinions on this board. There's a lot of possibilities with the engagement like this. This doesn't replace in-person engagement, it's just in addition to. I think we all learned from COVID that you have to have multiple forms of engagement to have the best outreach possible. Not everybody can make in-person meetings. Those are tough, and we can't expect people to come to us. We really have to go out to try to get a full gamut of the community to get that feedback. And then lastly, we do have a series of workshops outlined, the first one being towards the end of October here at City Hall. Those workshops will focus on the general plan and the Downtown Station Area Plan. Interactive exercises, some of them are one-on-one discussions, some are open houses, so there'll be a variety. We will let people know about these through all forms of social media and outreach at least 30 days in advance of it. Okay, that was a little shorter. Any questions on the engagement portion of the project?
First, Mayor Pro Tem Boyd.
Thank you. Question about the newsletter.
Yes.
You said that it's been already sent out.
The first one's posted online and we're working with the city on routing it.
Okay,
Yes,
that was my question. Thank you.
of course.
Okay. Commissioner Gonzalez.
For the website and the section where we have the ability to post comments and also the public to post comments, are those comments open and active as of now? And secondly, is there a private setting for folks to post their comments unanimously? Or do they have to register as we have for other?
I don't believe there's a registration button tied to it. When you post a comment, it doesn't go live onto the site. The comment goes to our emails and then we catalog them and on a monthly basis upload a document that'll have all of the comments listed. If it does ask for email or stuff like that, your name or email is not tied to your comment. That's not made public. They are left anonymous online.
Okay, and they are open right now?
It is open right now.
Okay.
Yes.
So far, how much feedback have you received?
I will have to check. I know we've had upwards of 50 people sign up online so far. Very few comments have come in, I would say less than 10, but the project is fairly new. So
Yeah.
the only public meeting we had was the all hands kickoff. There hasn't been a deliverable that's gone out yet. That'll most likely change when something goes out and you start interacting with the plan.
Yeah. I know that you guys worked on a few projects, and is this something similar to what you guys done with other projects as far as the public comments on the website?
I would say it's relatively new. Sometimes those comments are kept and provided to Planning Commission and to council at key points. We've worked in several communities where community members have voiced wanting to know what their neighbors are thinking and to allow an open forum. And so what we've done is we've started to open that up through transparency and have them just posted on a monthly basis. It's easier than a weekly or a quarterly, is not often enough.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Thomas?
Thank you. I believe I heard you mention that you were going to post some information on Facebook. Was there, I must have missed it, was there other social media that you're currently using?
Not at this point. So what we do is we leverage current city social media accounts unless
see.
there are community groups that are open to allowing postings on their pages. What we would have to do is we would have to confirm with city staff that that is okay to do, and then provide them the formatted components that would fit within those certain social media platforms.
If I may be so bold as to make a suggestion, I am aware that there is a pretty active community surrounding Merced on Reddit. That may be a different way of reaching people.
Okay, thank you. I'll have city staff note it. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Johnson?
Could you explain a little bit more about the Maptionaire and how that will be implemented, or if it has been implemented?
So the Maptionaire implemented on this project or on other projects?
On this project.
So it hasn't been implemented yet. Typically, Maptionaire comes in when we start talking about, I like to say, issues, opportunities, and assets. So we like to ask the community, what are the issues in the community? Where are the issues? What are they? What are the opportunities that you see? And what are the assets that should be leveraged as part of the plan? So when we have that discussion, we can all go, well, I think an issue is over off of M Street, but where? The mapping allows you to pinpoint, community members to pinpoint what that is and explain what it is. There's also the ability to drop in photos and pictures and descriptions. So it becomes far more interactive. That's where I see the mapping exercise coming in. When we start to talk about land use changes potentially as part of this project, we can also have that as part of Maptionaire too, where you can weigh in on land use changes within the city or future annexations.
And what's the time frame for bringing that on?
That'll most likely come on after existing conditions, right before the vision. So I'm thinking it's between phases 2 and 3, which would be later this year or early 26. You're welcome. Any other questions?
A few more questions. Ms. Holloway?
Will this be different from our Merced Connect app that we've already established here in Merced?
This is a separate,
Okay.
yes.
All right, Mr. Sandoval had something there from you, and then it went away. Do you have a question, or?
No, I think it was answered with Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Emsmer?
I like the Maptionaire project. The county has done that. And over the last year or so, it really worked well to get lots of people in the community could see what different people were posting as issues to be concerned about in various part of the county. So I like that. And I like your comment, Curtis, about I'm a geezer, so I do Facebook and maybe email, and I use the phone, you know, but there are lots of ways to get out and reach people nowadays, and that's really, really important to do. And being a geezer, one of the things I would suggest is stay away from acronyms as much as possible. I have to have a little cheat sheet, keep track of what the GP and the DSAP and all of, all of this stuff, and, just try and make it plain and simple. So when people look at it, they can go, okay, GP general plan, I know what I need to do there, and the downtown station, Okay, cool. I can make comments on that. So just make it as user-friendly as you can, as possible.
No, understood. And I think that's always something, at least in the planning profession, everything is an acronym. We almost talk in acronyms. So I think it's always good to have a reminder. On the website, we do use full verbiage for each of the deliverables. On the screen, it is hard to fit all those words, so we do shorten them where we can. In the general plan, you'll like this. There will be a cheat sheet of acronyms in the glossary. So there's a lot of different state, federal agencies and laws that have those, but we'll be sure to explain it and have those charted out.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyle.
Thank you. I think on top of Facebook, we also have our Instagram page. We also have our LinkedIn. So I hope those are utilized. And I love Reddit. You can go down a black hole down Reddit. And I believe we're also active on the Nextdoor app, which might be a great avenue, especially posting the newsletter and then letting people know. 'Cause I didn't even know that the newsletter came out. So I'm glad that you mentioned that so I can read and see what you guys are producing.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Back to you, Brent.
Okay. So I'm going to take a break on the general plan. So I'd mentioned that in addition, we have our general plan process, but then there's a downtown station area plan process running concurrently. So I'm going to ask Deeksha from WRT. Deeksha is on Teams. She's going to present this downtown station area plan. I'll be up here flipping through the slides. When her portion of the presentation is done, we'll hand it back to the CFAG if there are any questions on that process. Deeksha, are you there?
Yes, thanks, Brent.
Perfect.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, let's get started on the downtown station area plan. One of the first things that we're looking to do and getting your feedback on is what are the goals that we're trying to achieve with the downtown station area plan. So with goals, we essentially mean desired future outcomes. We've looked at certain planning documents until now which describe a vision for the area. Goals are not policies, but policies would be ways in which goals are implemented. So the goals are more aspirational statements. And the next slide shows some of the sources that we've referred to as of now, the previous general plan, downtown strategy, looking at the tourism business improvement district and what they've put out, as well as looking at what the high-speed rail authority has been talking about the region. And the next slide shows the key themes that have come up as of now in terms of goals for this station plan area, which is making it vibrant and attractive, having diverse commercial and cultural destinations in the downtown, making a center for employment, education, government, social services, having a convergence of exceptional transportation that is especially important with high-speed rail coming in, and then creating a walkable and bikeable neighborhood, having economic growth, and having a distinct local character and identity for the downtown area. So we would love to discuss that as we go further. But then let's dive into the plan area itself. So on the right, you're seeing a map of the general area, which sort of starts to see where the new station will get introduced and how it juxtaposes with the existing downtown and the kind of synergy that it could create. The topics on the left are what the downtown station area plan would be addressing. So multimodal transportation, land use and changes, place making, both from in terms of public realm, but also how building form could adapt, creating economic development opportunities within the plan area, and looking at infrastructure and the infrastructure capacity as of today and what would be required for future development. Next slide. So our first task was looking at the area itself and deciding a plan area boundary. So the dashed red boundary that you're seeing has been currently set as the plan boundary. The rationale for this was on the north side of the plan area, we were trying to stay just beyond the residential neighborhood and the courthouse properties. And then on the south side, we did want to include South Merced, especially up until 11th Street, so that we're able to study how the future rail station could impact South Merced and how we could create better synergy between the two areas and make sure that South Merced also sees economic development and revitalization through this plan process. Next slide. So this is just a snapshot of the different parts of the plan area. The downtown core area, which has, we're seeing the Merced Theater, the cinema, the Tiago, and just the general character of the commercial area. The next slide then shows the courthouse neighborhood. The courthouse is just outside the plan boundary, but the surrounding area itself has a lot of services that support the courthouse, including law offices, etc. Next slide shows the other typology of development within the plan area, which is a lot of vehicle-oriented commercial. So on the western end especially, there are a lot of auto sale commercial areas. But even the other areas that when we say vehicle-oriented commercial, we're talking about commercial spaces where we would expect to like drive in and park in front, or have these drive-through restaurants. And then next slide, we see we're looking at the South Merced neighborhood. It's a residential character and some of the community assets in terms of the community park there. So this is just a general snapshot of the plan area and its different components that we're trying to study all of them together in this downtown station area plan. Next slide. To study the plan area in further detail, we're looking at the existing zoning that is allowed. We see a few distinct elements here. The central part showing the central commercial district, which is more of the downtown commercial walkable area. And then on either ends, east and west, there is the general commercial district. There is a specific designation, which is the thoroughfare commercial district, which is on either side of Highway 99, which is catered more towards the cars just coming off the highway and commercial that serves that. And then further down, as we go into South Merced, we're looking at the high medium density residential neighborhoods. So that is a general composition in terms of zoning that we've seen till now. And then this map is the existing land use character on ground. And we've classified that into the pedestrian-oriented commercial, which is more of the walkable commercial areas that you see in Core along Main Street and Canal Street. And then the purple areas that you're seeing are more of those auto-oriented commercial that we were just talking about a few slides back. And then within the southern region, you see a lot of the single and multifamily residential uses. And in the next slide, we've tried to club them further just to create these distinct bubble categories. And so we've come up with these categories just to identify the plan areas as the courthouse neighborhood, the downtown core, future rail station, South Merced residential, the east and the west auto-oriented commercial, the auto sales area, and then a middle zone between the future rail station and the downtown core, which we were thinking of as the station area opportunity zone, which could like blend the downtown together with the station and make that transition really smooth. And this is all we're still like learning more about these things, and so the bubbles will move as we learn more. This diagram is looking at the key landmarks and important civic destinations that we have seen within Merced in this plan area. And then the dark red lines that you're seeing, which is for the storefront activation, is basically where the buildings are right up to the sidewalk edge, creating a more active pedestrian experience and frontage. And so that's again mainly along Main Street and some of it along M and Canal Street. Next slide. We noticed that a lot of the area within downtown is civic serving. And so we started to map out where are those elements and which parcels are city owned or county owned. So there's a lot of civic core cluster within this downtown area, which has the UC Merced Downtown Center, the post office, the district attorney's office, etc. So that's also a big draw of like getting people into this downtown area, just because they need to access these services. Next slide. Here we're just looking at the future station area and then how it connects to the downtown core. So which are our key streets that we need to connect to? How is our main bus transit corridor going on M Street? And then Main Street is what we want to connect to. So how does our circulation system work so that we make sure that all the key corridors are well connected to each other, so that we create a seamless transition and make sure that we're able to like leverage the train station as much as possible. Next slide. And then talking about the future station area itself, this is one of the images that we received from High Speed Rail, and we're working with them to get more up-to-date information as the project progresses. But the high-speed rail station is going to be elevated, as most of us would know, and so the dot patterns that you're seeing along the center in a horizontal line, those are like the pillars on which the elevated rail is there, and then below that we're seeing the station itself, along with the regional bus station on the left. And then the station is connected to the other side through an elevated bridge. And so then our job would be to then see how this station plan how we can connect well from the surrounding neighborhood into the station plan itself. Next slide. As we know that as the high-speed rail comes about, the network would really shorten the travel time from Merced to both the Bay Area as well as the larger LA metro region. I think it'll be under 2 hours to get from Merced to San Francisco in that case. Next slide. Also with high-speed rail, there are a lot of stages associated with it. So you're seeing 3 different stages here. Day 0 is when pre-rail service there. So before the rail actually comes into place, we can do a lot of things already to make sure that we're set up for success. Some of this could include the Main Street revitalization, creating placemaking infrastructure, making sure we get in affordable housing, market rate housing into the area, incubator spaces. So the downtown station area plan would be helpful to set up this framework and provide direction so that even before this station is here, we're able, and the rail service is here, we're making sure that the area is set up for success. And then day 1 is where the service starts to the Central Valley, so connecting to Fresno and Bakersfield. We'll have high-speed rail, ACE, Amtrak, MTA yard, and then we would have like a signature station and the plaza associated with it. We could get early R&D investment into the area. And then as we move forward from there, once the extended service starts to the Bay Area and the LA region, greater investment could go into the area, housing demand would rise. We could look at more placemaking and then maybe rethink investment onto Main Street itself. Next slide. I think we looked at this one already, so let's move to the one after this. So we talked about all of these different elements, but another important element as we also start talking about potentially increasing density within this planned area, having more housing, critical element is having enough access to parks and open spaces. So this map looks at where parks and open spaces are currently there within the planned area, which there are minimal. Bob Hart Plaza is the only little one that we have within the planned area. There are a number of them surrounding just outside the boundary of the planned area. The courthouse area, McNamara Park itself, and Dennis Chavez on the left end, west end. So we started to draw these walk sheds from the parks itself. So you're seeing two blue colored walk sheds. One is a 1/4 mile walk shed and one is a 1/2 mile walk shed. The 1/2 mile walk shed is roughly a 10-minute walk to the park. That is generally used as a metric to make sure that every citizen is able to access, every resident is able to access a park within a 10-minute walking distance from their place. So we're seeing that the top northwestern end of the planned area is looking underserved at this point without much access to park space. So as we go through this planning process, we would want to make sure that we're able to cover those gaps, especially with the thought of like more housing development. Further park spaces and access to open space would be essential. Next slide. So this is some of the a part of the initial analysis that we've been doing. Along with that, we've been having a lot of interviews with different stakeholders on different subject matters. We even conducted a workshop with community-based organizations where we had an extensive list of organizations that we worked on with this city and invited them into a participatory workshop with us where we discussed the issues and opportunities. We're digesting all of the information that we received from them, and we'll be collating it with the analysis that we've done till now so that we can have a more complete picture. The next stage that we're sort of going into currently is the scenario stage. This essentially means that we would be testing different approaches to land use, connectivity, access, open spaces, where more concentrated density could happen within the planned area. And so we would have a few scenarios, and the workshop in October is where we would be sharing those scenarios with the public and getting their feedback on it. There would also be an accompanying survey which would happen parallel to the workshop so that people who are not able to attend the workshop are able to take the survey and still give us their feedback. Based on what we hear from that, we would then go into the plan framework where those scenarios are converted into the base framework for land use, connectivity, open space, etc. And we would be then turning that into the plan itself. So on the bottom, you're seeing our different touch points with the community advisory focus group. That is all of you. So in each stage, we would be coming to you a few times so that we can get your feedback on what we're developing. And then below that, you're seeing our alignment with the general plan. So those are the different community touch points that the general plan would already be having, and the station area plan, the downtown station area plan would be also present in those community touch points to get feedback from the larger community as well. I think that's all for me. So would love to take any questions.
So before we jump into questions, thank you, Deeksha, for walking through the downtown station area plan. The CFAG may notice that this schedule says June 2026. And I said, oh, the general plan goes through the end of 2027. So the downtown station area plan is a grant-funded project, and it is on a much more consolidated and condensed timeline. And so the downtown station area plan will be completed almost a year before the rest of the general plan. And so that's why the slides that Deeksha was going through, you start to see that there's already progress being made on looking at walkability, looking at infrastructure, looking at parks. There was a fantastic CBO workshop with over 30 to 40 CBOs were invited and participated and attended, weighing in on the downtown and how the high-speed rail station in downtown can collaboratively work together to project this area for future development. And so as part of this effort, you'll notice that there are CFAG group meetings. Those will be specifically tied to the downtown station area plan. And then the downtown station area plan also has its own set of engagement in addition to the general plan. So there is a lot of engagement being pushed out through both of these efforts. I just wanted to address that. Before we get into specific questions on this portion of the project, I do want to hand it over to city staff who would like to give an update on high-speed rail.
Thank you, Brent. I just wanted to address sort of an elephant in the room, potentially. Some may have heard that high-speed rail would bypass us or whatever, and it's really a resequencing that they're considering, but that would take a state law change to do that. So really this document is focused on a revitalization of downtown. Part of the analysis will also look at other alternatives, ACE. We currently have a transportation hub that we can build around. So it's not, though it's being funded partially by high-speed rail, and yes, that has been the center and part of our excitement, we are also looking at this as really a transformative document to revitalize downtown, to create a walkability, a sense of place, an identity that doesn't have to have anything to do with high-speed rail if that changes. So we're just moving forward as a city. We're in active conversation with the California High-Speed Rail Authority, but just wanted to let you guys know that this is still moving forward, and this document will still be transformative no matter what happens on the other side with the rail.
Thank you, John.
So I would like to pass it back to the mayor to facilitate any questions that the CFAG may have related to the update from Johnny or the presentation from Deeksha.
Okay, thank you, Brent. Mr. Thomas?
Thank you. Johnny, my question is, it sounds like you've been in contact with the High-Speed Rail Authority. I am aware that one of the things that provoked them to review their plans was the recent changes from the federal administration, and also the lack of commitment of funding from the cap and trade program. Now that it looks like there's an effort organized in Sacramento to get them their $1 billion a year from cap and trade, does it sound like they're still interested in pursuing cutting Merced in light of that?
I am not I don't have that information.
Okay.
But it's really, this is not the.
Yeah, we can pull
We do have Frank coming up. I guess he can help with this. Thank you.
You got Frank out of his chair.
So the project update that was issued last Friday presented 3 to 4 different scenarios. Those scenarios evaluated bypassing Merced, Gilroy, Bakersfield, Palmdale to Los Angeles, and really weighed more what the return on investment would be. Per the econometrics and the modeling that was done, it came out to be more so, even setting aside what cap and trade and what the $4 billion that were removed from the project would take, they were looking at okay, what's going to yield us the highest return in ridership? Obviously generated by, they need to be making money when it opens up. And you're right, they're looking for partners to be able to grow the high-speed rail. Nothing's set in stone yet. What they really follow is what's called the business plan. That business plan is updated every 2 years. 2026 will be the next business plan that high-speed rail will put out to the public and give the cities, the downtown station cities, an opportunity to review. We will be following closely what they're doing with the project update, but they haven't even set some time aside yet on how they're going to be moving forward with it. But what's in the document is a commitment to see how much of that gets incorporated into the business plan. Any questions?
If I may.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, do you know if that's typically a public process when they go to update the?
It sure
Okay.
is, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, High-Speed Rail meeting has the High-Speed Rail Authority has a public meeting tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, correct.
Frank's going to be there. You can also call in and offer public comment as well. And then the city, we've had a very close working relationship with the High-Speed Rail Authority for many, many years. And I think, just to add on some of what Frank said, one, the state is obligated by Prop 1A to build high-speed rail, to build it from the valley, connecting the valley cities to the Bay and to LA, to build out the whole system. SB 198 obligates the High-Speed Rail Authority to prioritize the Merced to Bakersfield segment, to prioritize it, and really limits the way it can spend money on construction elsewhere. This recent report by the High-Speed Rail Authority says that they're obligated and recognizes that they're obligated to build the Merced to Bakersfield initial operating segment first, but also then recommends, as Frank says, that the legislature strongly consider modifying that to potentially allow for a Gilroy to Bakersfield segment. So, but again, as Frank said, there's nothing's, currently state law says they have to do
Correct.
Merced to Bakersfield.
And this isn't unusual. In it was either 22 or 24, and Mayor, you might recall, or Mayor Pro Tem, where Merced was set aside. They talked about removing the funding, sending it down to Southern California, and focusing more on the Santa Monica hub area. And it was first drawn into, again, it was either 22 or 24 on the business plans. And Merced made a good showing, and the funding back then was reinstated, which led us to this planning effort that we're at right now.
And the current, if you read the current report, it recognizes that there's roughly an $8 billion gap to complete the Merced to Bakersfield segment, but also recognizes that the cap and trade dollars, if
Correct.
programmed appropriately, will cover that.
The governor mandated a spending plan. That's part of what they're working on too.
Oh, hang on, I'm gonna.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to press the button.
Which one? Speak?
Press to speak, but Mr. Sandoval's first.
My question was with regards to this area plan being focused and having a perimeter, a half mile radius from the rail site. Would we shift our focus to downtown area and maybe reconsider our borders? Are we still considering the focal point being the future rail station?
The focal point will remain the rail station. We have not been instructed by the authority to stop any planning efforts, so we will continue evaluating land uses that we will be surrounding it, and even engineering efforts, which we have 2 subcommittees that are working on engineering from Madera to Merced, and then within the station appropriately itself.
So would there ever be as plans change, are we thinking about what that would look like for our plan if we do get cut out? Or do we just keep on going until plans change?
As we keep going until plans change, and I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was a consultant or Johnny who said this is a form of a revitalization plan.
Sure.
So it's going to look at downtown holistically, and we're already seeing some of the renaissance that is taking place in downtown Merced.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
All right, Mr. James.
Well, the Gilroy portion was part of the plan overall anyway, wasn't it?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
that would be like, if there was a Plan 2, that would be Plan 2 right away, I suppose, huh?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, and Merced was always just kind of a spur toward the north.
It was an extension to the north that would ultimately connect Gilroy to the Silicon Valley, and then also be the hub where Ace Train, Mitzi would come and would take you up to Sacramento. So we would have 3 trains being served by one station.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So from here, the plan was to go, west over Pacheco Pass anyway to Gilroy, or the new plan that
The new plan would bypass Merced, and let's call it the 152.
Right.
99, you would see the bend take that direction. And then eventually Merced would be connected, which was one of the alternatives that they studied when they were looking at what the Y would be connecting Madera to Merced.
Right, okay.
All right, Mr. Max.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. So I guess just to clarify for the charge of this group, so the downtown station area plan, given the timeline, is just, let's still work on getting our ideal wish, right? If everything goes according to plan, the High-Speed Rail Authority doesn't pull the rug on us, and we're able to move forward with trying to implement the plan. And at the same time, it sounds like Johnny had mentioned there will be some alternatives analysis. It sounds like it'll get handled through the general plan, and I guess really the key there is going to be some of the infrastructure impacts that could come with or without the plan. So I guess we want to still get to our wish point here, but do the other infrastructure analysis and alternatives work through the general plan process.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez.
I was just going to reemphasize that portion of it, right? That we do have a downtown area station plan, but it's still a downtown area plan. If we focus our thoughts and establish our vision, particularly around that downtown plan on what we want it to see and what we want it to look like in 5, 10, 15 years, whether they put the station there or not, I think that's the work that we're going to do collaboratively as an advisory council. And outside of, just my thoughts, outside of even that station coming, just understanding our budget with the state and what we have going on politically, if we can have this opportunity to just really focus on our downtown area and what we want it to look like, whether we have a station there or not, is going to be as much effort are we putting as far as managing Merced. We're a vibrant, growing community, and if we put our efforts in focusing on that downtown area, like we have an opportunity to, and kind of keep it in line, I think we're in the right place. So thank you for the comments.
Commissioner Gonzalez, excellent point. Keep in mind that the original station location was G Street to MLK 15th and 16th. And after several years and working with high-speed rail was shifted over to the west to where it is today. And part of it was we saw that the interior of downtown was beginning to take off and again experiencing a renaissance on itself. So we needed a catalyst to be able to get the west side started. And this was part of the reason why we asked that the station be moved. So you're correct. It still gives us the opportunity to focus on revitalizing the downtown area.
Yeah, thanks.
Ms. Holloway.
I know a couple buildings are going to be affected by the new station being built. The senior center, Boys and Girls Club. Are those considered with the budget to put those buildings somewhere else? I mean, it can even, looking into downtown, maybe we can have the senior center somewhere downtown, or the Boys and Girls Club somewhere when considering what to do with that. So I just want to make sure that the city of Merced is fighting for those buildings to get funded and relocated, because they're very important to the community.
The High-Speed Rail Authority has gone through and done a walkthrough of both buildings, provided the city an appraisal. We are working with them to do exactly what you described. Part of their services is to identify new locations, and based on their environmental impact report, the mitigation measures called for replacement facilities to be in place before high-speed rail would be up and activating. And we are definitely pressing towards that mark with them.
Mr. Ames?
Pick up on your point then, there are probably many locations in the footprint that are gonna have to move, for one reason or another. And in that process, is there a means to make people whole, businesses whole, that are renters or leaseholders, not the landowners? Because as I understand it, with eminent domain, it's the landowners that are made whole. All the renters and leaseholders, and correct me if I'm wrong, are kind of on their own to find a new location. And that would be a very big disservice to like the senior center, the Boys and Girls Club, and any other of the businesses that are going to be impacted by that.
So there are two evaluations that are done. First of all, you're correct. There's the property owner, and if they have a tenant inside, then they are to work with the tenant on relocation. They pay for a portion of the relocation cost. They assist with relocation analysis on what would be the best place for them to relocate and then to identify that. I won't say it's unlimited, but it's a very healthy amount, and you could also negotiate with High-Speed Rail on a final number to help with the move. For the property owner, they look at obviously at the value of the property and the value of the building that's there. For the operator, they look at revenues and what's generated and so on. But you have to remember, it's not full replacement value model that they're looking at. It's looking at current market rate. So there's some depreciation in there, and that's always the challenging point. And under California law, that's how they're supposed to do the appraisal evaluation.
Yeah, that's good. I understand I'm getting an echo. But I understand in Fresno, a lot of the businesses that have moved have really thrived. And that's what we need to make sure happens here. So will the city be working with High-Speed Rail to help expedite that kind of thing?
We are creating packages that will look at ways to cover impact fees, water and sewer connection fees. Because needless to say, we've had businesses come up and say, we've paid, we're being, and if you may use the term, forced to move out, so should we pay that? One can transition, and that's one thing we're evaluating, transitioning the fees from one place to another for water and sewer connection fees. On the other part is making sure there's adequate zoned property where they can go in without having to go through an entitlement process and go in by right. And we're in the middle of working on that right now.
All right, additional questions?
Do we get to deduct this from your, no, sorry.
All right, so we'll continue with the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Any more questions on the downtown station area plan? If not, we'll proceed with the presentation. Okay.
No more questions.
So, you've all made it this far. Have about 25 minutes left as part of this meeting. And what we'd like to do is have just an open dialogue and discussion with all of you on expectations, what you think so far, your opinion on what you've heard, process, what you'd like to see. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to hand this portion of the presentation over to Michael. Michael's on Teams, and he will walk through just an open dialogue and discussion with CAFG members, and we'll collect feedback, and that'll round out our evening tonight. Michael?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, good evening, CAFG members and members of the public. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you this evening, albeit virtually. My name is Michael Gibbons, and I am the overall project manager for this project, working alongside Brent as the project director. So I will be overseeing really the day-to-day operations and preparations of materials, coordinating with you all and city staff on various outreach events, and facilitating your future CAFG meetings. I apologize that I am not able to be with you there this evening. I developed a cold, and I thought I would spare you all my presence. So as Brent, though, laid out earlier and throughout this presentation, this is a complex but exciting project. And really your role as CAFG members is an important one, and that you'll be advising us as the consultant team, working alongside you and your city staff, and then most importantly, really representing the voices of the community in which you're serving. So it's that combination that really makes you a bridge between the work that we're doing and ultimately the plan that this community, that will serve this community. That's really why we have these meetings and why they matter. They are a place for us to check in with you, share some ideas, and present draft materials, and most importantly, hear your feedback. I know Brent mentioned it, but I'll just hit it home again. Your insights truly shape both the general plan and the downtown station area plan into something that is real, relevant, but I guess most importantly, from the planning perspective, is also achievable. So tonight really marks the beginning of that process. We've prepared a couple of questions that we want to just walk through openly with the CAFG members. And this is just supposed to be an open dialogue, but is going to help us gauge as your consultant team where we go and help us address some of these larger, maybe upfront topics that you as members would like to share with us. So I'll start with just the first question, and again, I'll open this back up to the rest of the members. But when you look back on this process, when you have a updated general plan and a adopted downtown station area plan, what, as you as members are going to contribute, would you identify that would make this a successful process? So I'll open it up. And we are here to collect your general feedback and engage in discussion with you, and then we'll address key challenges after that.
Okay. So the question was, what do members of the CAFG expect to contribute?
We're trying to identify indicators of success. So when this project is adopted and when we have a completed document, what would you as members, what would make you feel that this was a successful process? What outcomes would make you feel that this was a successful process?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kelly.
I guess I should put the mic on, but I'm loud, so it doesn't really matter. I think for me, it needs to be meaningful, it needs to be realistic, without being overly ambitious. I also think that the public outreach process is going to be key. We hear a lot of times with these types of plans and that the city develops and adopts that there was not enough outreach in South Merced or in further North Merced or in our southeast. So I think when you're looking at these community workshops, you need to take into consideration the populations you're targeting in those workshops, people who may not drive, seniors who don't go out at night, people who don't have access to get to a central hub, bring the meeting to them. That's definitely appreciated, I know, by the residents of Merced, especially the ones that I've talked to in Central Merced that happen to be part of that senior population that can't come to a meeting at night because they don't drive, or the bus doesn't run late at night to get them back and forth to these meetings. So, but I think a measure of success would be that it was a meaningful, thoughtful, and realistic plan. I would definitely call that a success.
Hello. So I think for me, I would look to make sure that we're doing really good public outreach. I want to emphasize Cindy's point that I hear all too often that, I try to get people engaged and tell them what's going on, and I hear all too often that, oh man, I had no idea that was happening. A lot of times people really have to go out of their way to look for this stuff, it seems like. I know that's not by design, but that's the outcome. I'd also like to see some meaningful and attainable changes. I think that there's actually a lot of really good opportunities here for the city to make very impactful changes, for the general plan to make some very impactful changes that are extremely attainable and realistic and would have a low impact to city finances to implement. And then the last thing is I would really love to see some vision and some like ambitious vision. I think just, because we're here in the Central Valley, I've noticed that people here tend to have a kind of, sort of self-deprecating attitude of, I've run into people in Monterey and, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Modesto. Oh, I'm sorry. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Merced. Oh, I'm sorry too. And so, I think we can grow past that, and we can dare to dream and have some ambition.
I think for me is kind of what he was saying, Mr. Thomas was saying. I think name recognition. I'm originally from Southern California, and so once I moved here for college, I didn't know where Merced was. The first time I came was the day I actually SIR'd, so like in May, when you're supposed to, your intent to register. And I think name recognition is a really important piece. I think we have a lot of folks that come through up and down Central Valley, whether it's to Yosemite, right where the gateway to Yosemite. Folks come through, and I think an indicator of success is if the projects that are being guided by the general plan start creating some name recognition for Merced. It's not just a city on the map or things like that, right? I think name recognition is a really good indicator of success. And we love our city, and I would hope others would feel the same way as they're coming through. And you see with the growth that the city's had, exponential growth that we're seeing compared to other places in California. So definitely name recognition, and I think that for me is a good indicator. Thank you.
Mr. Max.
Yeah, I'd like to just echo, Ms. Kelly mentioned realistic expectations and also achievable or attainable expectations and goals. I think are really, really important. There's a lot of value in putting something on the map that is something that the council is then charged with implementing, planning commission is then charged with implementing on our behalf as citizens, and making sure that those are actually realistic and actionable is really, really key. A second one I'd emphasize is just clarity for our business and development communities. The general plan and zoning code are both really just the roadmap for how those communities act within our community, and setting those expectations clearly, again, making it actionable for our planning commission and city council to move forward on is really key. Setting those expectations early in the general plan is something that really makes it easy for our development and business communities to both internal and external to look at how to shape doing business in Merced. And so, recognizing that our general plan and our zoning code are really kind of the bare minimum, but also really important tools in shaping that those processes is something that is really going to define success for the project. Thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Gonzalez.
I think the question that what I'm looking at on this question that's kind of hitting to me, you guys all said some great points, so thank you for all that, and all of that is spot on. But I think for me, it's how am I going to make sure that I feel that the process was a successful effort, and I'm taking that just personally, right? I don't want to get to the end and feel that somebody did my homework for me. We have a great team of consultants that will be helping us put together a really great plan, and that's the point, is they're going to be advising on it, but it's going to be our plan. I want to make sure that we all have open collaboration, open discussion on every single topic, and to make sure that everybody leaves here feeling that if they had a question or they had a concern about a particular topic, that they felt heard, and that we collaborated through it. I understand that there might be an opportunity where, or a time where we have to go to a vote because we don't have a consensus. And I hope that's not every time, right? The whole point is for us to get all on the same page and feel that we really had some input into the decision and into this general plan. So for me, I think that if we can get through this and we all feel good about it, like, you know, we put the work in and it's a direction that we all want to go because we're all representing different parts of the community, I would count that as a success.
Ms. Holloway.
Just piggybacking really on that, I think what would be successful is if what we said and what we decided really happened. I think it's like, oh, these guys from the Bay Area are going to come and make all our decisions, right? That's not what we want. I've dealt with it in education. We tell them what our students need, and the administration does whatever they want. So it's very frustrating. So I think what would be successful is they actually listened to the people who live here and made it successful. And also what would make it successful is people staying in Merced, like not saying, let's go out to eat in Turlock and spending money there, rather than having business owners here be successful because people want to stay in Merced, want to go downtown and spend their money there and make these business successful, all for a mom and pop shop to succeed. And if that's what our downtown area is kind of looks like already, and if we keep growing off of that, keeping people downtown to hang out over the weekend, invite people to Merced to come, and not having to go out of town and just bringing money here, I just think would be a huge success.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson.
I think for me, and thank you all for going ahead, and I echo so much of what's been said in terms of for me, this being successful, it needs to have deep collaboration within the community and opportunities for all of us to meet within our areas and work within our areas to find out what people think. I know what I think, but I don't necessarily know what everybody in District 4 thinks. And another hallmark of success for me for this plan is that we are extremely mindful of what's being displaced for this growth. I know that this has also been spoken to before, but there are, I love this. I love the plan. I love the high-speed rail, but there are people that will be displaced by this, and I hope that the plan that's implemented cares for them and takes care of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Amsminger.
Thank you. I hope that we can have a plan that the whole community is proud of, especially for the downtown rail, the area that's kind of a vibrant mix of mixed use area. And I've heard concerns from others that not just surrounded by parking lots that are going to be really hot. And in that arena, I think we can look at other communities. I mentioned Fresno before, and I wonder if the WRT group that you mentioned earlier had worked with them, because I remember a few years ago there was either on the news or in the paper, there was an article about how they had come together because they were looking at a similar plan that we're looking at here, and had come together to help redesign it. And where it is very much more of a mixed use kind of an entity that they're very proud of apparently down there. And it would be, I think, behoove you guys as consultants to look at that and bring back some information to us as to what they did to make that kind of thing happen and such. So that would be a success for me, for it to be a very vibrant, because my focus right now is on the rail section, since that's kind of an accelerated timeline for this right now. So.
All right. You heard a pretty good range of thoughts and opinions, Michael. We have certainly a lot of focus on process, having a robust process that honors our community, that allows a multitude of voices to be heard, and that which we help guide and we learn from. Also, too, the end product and the result as well, balance between ambition and pragmatism, knowing all the while that our powers are limited. Just because we say something should be built in a certain area, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to, or doesn't mean it's going to happen. So, this general plan being an effective tool that's going to guide and help promote growth and help do, I think, what maybe we lose focus on as a country in building great cities and building great communities. I know probably used to be a little more of a focus on that nationwide, but, if we can really, in a pragmatic yet ambitious way, use this to help guide, and with the ultimate goal of building a tremendous city.
No, I think that's a wonderful summary, and it definitely touched on some of the notes that I have on my side as well. With that, maybe we'll go into to identify some key challenges. Sometimes this question can be easier to answer than maybe finding opportunities. It seems like we can all kind of identify things that prevent change. But from our perspective, and kind of what would you like to share with us as some key challenges that you envision us running into with this project, and key challenges that you would like this project to address?
Okay, key challenges. Just saw my computer screen light up. 6 different. All right, keep coming, keep going. Who else? We got 7 so far. Commissioner Gonzalez.
I think one of the challenges that we have that keeps coming up, again, it's, through the state of California, specifically in Merced, is definitely housing, right? We've had a lot of conversations on the Planning Commission about housing and how we're going to fill the need. I think a real deep dive and focus into housing, whether it's North Merced, South Merced, out towards Atwater, out towards the lake, I think we need to address it and kind of really put some fine points on it, going into using this opportunity to drill in specifically on affordable housing and not just in key parts of the city. So again, this opportunity that we have is really vital and really welcoming from the Planning Commission, because as we have housing developments and plans come up to the Planning Commission, time and time again, we're always trying to address what we can and cannot do, where we can and cannot build, and this is our opportunity to really sew it all together. So I think that's, for me, that's a key challenge that I think we should make sure that we focus on.
Okay, Ms. Kelly.
I think one of the challenges, and I'm just going to say it, is going to be the homeless problem in the downtown area. How are we going to make sure that this station, this plan is going to kind of address, or our city's going to address, that these don't become sleeping stations, that we don't see what we're seeing now in the downtown area where, so it's a long-term problem. It's going to take a long-term solution, and I'm totally aware of that. But when we're talking about revitalizing downtown, we really need to address that as some people don't want to because it's kind of touchy-feely. And I think that if we're not keeping that in the forefront, we're doing a disservice to everyone in this community. The second thing, I am a big fan of building up and not out. I am not a fan of urban sprawl. Never have been. And I think there are so many opportunities in the downtown area to retrofit buildings. We saw it with Merced Lofts. We saw the Tioga with the wonderful investment that was made there. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I'm going to kind of mirror Keith. There's a lot of parking in this plan here, and that's a concern. We can build parking garages and then have space there then for the live, work, play people. Those who want to live downtown, work downtown, maybe put a couple bodegas down there. I'm from the East Coast, so bodegas are a big thing. So I'm looking forward to this, but there are some definitely challenges, and I think one of the big ones is definitely going to be addressing what the homeless problem might look like. It might disappear in 10 years. We don't know. It hasn't in the past 10. So I'll be the pessimist and say the glass is half empty, because I don't see it, I actually see it getting worse. And these kinds of changes tend to draw more, especially where there are people. They're going to be more panhandling, it's gonna be more rife. That's my concern there. So I think that's gonna be a challenge.
All right, Mr. Thomas.
All right. In the interest of whatever good reputation I may have, I'm going to go with the short list. So I think I want to go ahead and echo the concerns about housing, as well as the concern about parking. One, I don't think I've got a single positive reaction from anybody that I've told about the plan to surround the station with 8 blocks of parking. And one particularly keen comment that I heard in regards to that was, why not parks instead of parking? And I think that's, well, we'll get there. But kind of related to that, we've heard a lot of concerns in the community about land uses, about Merced becoming a city of gas stations, tire shops, and storage units. We've got a lot of issues with runoff that are developing as we're getting more rain over a shorter period of time and covering more land with impermeable surface. Of the most immediate concern to the DSAP, I would say we've got Highway 99 and Highway 59, which present significant barriers to movement. 99, of course, constrains all movement that needs to cross it through the underpasses, and then 59, it's 59 that turns into 16th Street. We've had concerns about, I have personal concerns about the ability of people to cross 16th Street, in particular because historically we've tried to prioritize vehicle traffic over all other concerns with regard to 16th. I don't think that people are going to fight 16th Street to cross from the high-speed rail station to visit our downtown area. That's all.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, next, Mr. Sandoval.
For me, one of the challenges I see is quality of life for young people. I hear and see a lot on, I'm on TikTok. I like to see a lot of TikTok, and so that's where you see a lot of a lot of people sharing their thoughts, and so seeing a lot of the folks here in the area, you always say or hear, there's nothing to do in Merced, or there's nothing to do in the 209. So really trying to prioritize the quality of life, making sure that folks are drawn to the city and are staying in the city. You see a lot of people that leave and tell stories of, oh, I left, the Merced or the Central Valley because I wanted there to be more things, right? We see that a lot. So I think making sure we work through that, because that's a challenge that the Central Valley faces, and I think Merced also specifically faces as well. Another thing is also the connection between the southern side of Merced, Highway 99 below, and then coming up through. We've seen, I don't know if you guys are aware, but whenever there's a train crossing, if there's ambulance that's on the south side, they have to wait for the train to pass. So, not only is that a health disparity, it's infuriating because people are maybe dying or having some sort of medical emergency, and we're at the whims of the train. So I think that's a challenge that we really need to tackle, being able to, properly connect the city and, for emergency services to be able to properly serve all of our folks, not just the folks that are unaffected by, sprawl and infrastructure like the train tracks. So those two challenges, I think, for me are pretty imperative.
Mr. Dennis.
What everyone's has been saying is just, I agree with so much here. I would add, and I think Ms. Johnson touched about this in the first question, but displacement, like gentrification, making sure that, as things progress, we tend to displace others, and making sure that we are looking into affordability for housing, taking care of the different cultures that live here, that are represented in Merced, and thinking about our special needs people here. We have a lot of different groups with special needs, and making sure that they have accessibility to certain resources here, especially in the downtown area, but throughout Merced. And balancing out the gentrification displacement with like mixed use, hopefully, maintaining our uniqueness here with our different cultures, and making sure as we grow that they are included within the growth. And I think that is part of making sure that we're not displacing others, making sure that they're incorporated, and making sure that the gentrification doesn't go wild. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Ms. Johnson.
Safety.
Okay, Mr. Max.
Yeah, so I guess just quickly, I love quality life for young people. I think that's a really great one I'd like to emphasize. Another quick one would just be whatever we can do to support our healthcare network, both from an infrastructure standpoint and attracting those types of uses, trying to streamline as many, I'll say, development opportunities to support our healthcare network locally would be really, really important. And then just something process-wise, I think that's important. With general plan law and state laws, it's written, it's a big state, a lot of competing interests. A lot of the general plan and state law is really written for those major metro areas, right? And those things don't always translate well to the Central Valley, let alone to Merced. And so as we hit those requirements, that's just a check-in that I'd like to see through the process is let's make sure that we're right-sizing that appropriately for Merced, and we're implementing those requirements in a way that's, again, achievable for Merced. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Epsker.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we have, I'm kind of focused on the high-speed rail project now, is it gives us a great opportunity to expand the tourism footprint that we have in the city from people all over the world, really, because Europeans and Asians are they have high-speed rail networks all over their continents, and they are very keen to use them if we have them available. And when I was mentioning about the mixed use aspect of this, if they're coming here, if tourists are coming here on high-speed rail and they're walking, they're going to need to have some kind of an easy way and a safe way to walk to hotel, to restaurants. It would be a great opportunity for a youth hostel to be in the town, because there would be probably lots of younger people in their 20s that would be traveling, and that would be a perfect venue for them. I've done that when I traveled when I was in my 20s. So for me, a big key challenge with the high-speed rail is how to leverage Merced as a key tourist venue for jumping off areas up to Yosemite, to the Tahoe area, down to the different national parks that ring around us, as well as the coast.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Boyle.
Thank you. So one of my topics I've talked about a lot of times just being on city council is economic development. And it's not just what businesses can we bring here, it's what skills do we have that we can make sure that we're attracting those type of businesses to create those jobs. We have UC Merced, we have Merced College. How are we going to collaborate with them to make sure, those students that are graduating are getting jobs here locally and they're not moving away? And then another thing is there things that we can be doing to implement to attract these businesses to come here? Another thing is pedestrian and bicycle transportation. I know that there's other people that do not use cars, and I want to make sure that we're looking at that as their mode of transportation. Maintenance as Merced grows. How are we going to maintain Merced? And talking about tourism, I've said this many times when I'm coming into Merced, you know, what are people looking at when they're coming from Yosemite, and how do we make Merced that destination? So I really want that to be that focal point of how are we making Merced a destination, especially with the high-speed rail. If we are that stop from one end to the other, what's going to make people come here?
Just one last point too is the assumptions we make. This is a forward-looking document, a document that looks out 10, 20, 30 years. So the assumptions we make are critical. And I know that, you know, in the current general plan, for example, there's certain assumptions about, you know, there's assumptions about population growth, about other things. And, you know, how do we, as best we can, make those accurate assumptions about going forward? What's the population going to be? The socioeconomic background, that's going to dictate the kind of housing, family structure, all those things they're going to play into the preferences people have for housing, and then ultimately too looking to how we're bound by, you know, our resources are certainly limited resources, and the economics as well. Economics drive and confine a lot of things as well too. All right, I think that's it for challenges. I believe. Good discussion.
Well, there was a lot there. There was certainly a lot to unpack.
You got yourself a good group here, Michael. We got everybody's ready to participate.
And fortunately, in hearing a lot of those challenges, I also heard a lot of opportunities. And so I think what I'll do is, if you don't mind, maybe I'll share at least some of the initial opportunities that I've heard just based on your challenges, and then I'll open it back up to the group to help maybe augment some of my notes. But it seems like there are some additional opportunities in increased density, specifically in the downtown area. There was a comment about not going out, but instead going up. There seemed to be a desire to address our parking situation, maybe citywide, but also when we're looking at the downtown station area plan, and it's finding incentives or ways to ease and come up with better regulations for parking. There also is an opportunity through this plan to improve the perceived reputation of the city and the perceived idea, and almost this name recognition and this desire to have Merced be something. There's also an opportunity here for this general plan to focus on improving emergency services citywide, but also looking at opportunities in southern Merced. But there's also an opportunity for economic development here, and attracting and supporting our local healthcare industry, but also looking at other types of industries and land uses, and incentivizing mixed use development, and really creating accessible spaces for the multitude of groups and that comprise the community. Those are at least my initial opportunities that I've found. I would like to hand it back to the group though, and see what on my list maybe we missed based on just listening to some of the key challenges that were identified.
All right, thank you, sir. Just want to be respectful of everybody's time. We're originally slated to go till 8, so we're almost 10 past 8 right now. How much longer do you think? Yeah, I know initially there was 75 slides, if I'm not mistaken.
We have 230 slides more to go. No, I'm only playing. No, we have just a couple more slides to go. After this question, I'd just like to one more time review with the group and other members upcoming next steps and some future touch points that we have planned. So only a few more minutes.
That sounds good. I think we're good. I think the group's enthusiastic about being here and staying here, so I don't think anybody minds staying a little late. Okay, first is, these numbers still got me confused. Mr. Sandoval.
I think a great opportunity is if we're going to be, thinking about walkable spaces, you need shade to walk. I think it's pretty hot here in Merced, so I think incorporating shade, big trees, it can be a mixture of both, whether it's new developments having some sort of awning type of requirement or things like that. I know I like to walk with my dog, and in my neighborhood, I have trees like this. I'm really proud that my trees are the largest in my neighborhood because I water them every day. My wife can attest to that. But yeah, definitely trees to be able to walk. If that's something that we want people to come and do, walk is it has to be an enjoyable experience. We have to look at it through a lens of an experience versus, whatever kind of vision we have, right? It has to be an enjoyable experience, right? Looking through that marketing lens. So, yeah, trees and shade, please.
Ms. Kelly.
I was going to say the same thing, walkable communities, but in my mind, I'm thinking when we're looking at these future annexations, which are always addressed in a general plan, say, for example, the Virginia Smith property, if we're looking at 750 houses, limiting to 500 houses and using the rest as new large commercial development, because that way I can walk over there and go to Costco on that side of town. I don't have to drive to Central Merced to get there and spend 25 minutes on the road. Or I can go to the restaurants that are in that area or the shops that are in that area. I don't have to take my car out of my driveway. So we're going to eliminate a lot of this traffic on the road, which our infrastructure already has a problem handling. And looking at when we're doing these annexations, and again, this is just for the general plan, looking at making those walkable communities. Walk to the store, walk to a little park over here, walk back home, drop off my groceries. Never took my car out of the garage.
Mr. Maxey.
Yeah, I just echo a lot of the walkability. I want to leverage the opportunities we have in a lot of our natural resources, the walkable creeks and paths that we have, both as Mayor Pro Tem Boyle mentioned, maintenance, the care and feeding, long-term enhancement of those. Those are huge assets to this community, just for mobility, for recreation. You name it. They're huge assets here. So continuing to focus on those, and then we do need to, be cognizant of the relationship between this community and ag. I think those are very important, both to the roots of the community and the long-term success. And those are important industries and support industries that the city needs to continue to have a relationship with. And so being cognizant of those opportunities and leveraging those opportunities as well. Thank you.
Sure. Ms. Johns.
I think it's really important as we're looking at bringing on more housing and talking about building up, that we're aware of schools and mindful of the number of students that we have to serve in certain areas and where our schools are now, and if we have enough space to serve the additional students that would come in with some of the growth that we're anticipating with this program.
Mr. Thomas.
I'd like to echo a lot of the concerns or a lot of the opportunities about walkability. The having done some walking around, one of the things that kind of stands out is there's places where you can walk, but why? Where to? There's parts of the city where walking is a pretty bleak experience. And I think there's an opportunity here to improve that character. And we can embrace urban design that promotes neighborhood communities and actually gives people places to walk to. Corner stores, small cafes. I know on the East Coast, delicatessens are extremely popular. Apart from that, I think that there's an opportunity for Merced to become a regional anchor. Let me put that another way, a region-defining city. We are kind of at a really neat central axis here. We've got Yosemite and Mariposa just up the road from us. We've got Atwater just pretty close, what with Castle Airport in between us. And, I think it wouldn't take much to just plunk down a little passenger line that runs back and forth every now and then to shuttle people back and forth, or, to kind of look at a broader perspective of, how do we become that region-defining city where everybody looks to Merced in our area. I think that would be a really interesting opportunity to explore, and I think there's something there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Gonzalez.
All right. I think the key opportunity is to tie, the kind of ideas we want and the vision that we want to put out with our general plan and also with our downtown station area plan. But the key opportunity is also to make it attractive to the folks that are actually going to build it, which are going to be our developers and our investors. So we can put together the best dynamite plan that we all agree on, but if nobody wants to put the money into it, it'll never be built, right? And we see that when we're talking about housing. We see that when we're talking about infrastructure. We have to be able to attract developers and investors and people that actually want to bring their businesses here. And part of that is the general plan on what does that look like. So when somebody's going to bring a Costco here, they're going to look at our general plan, they're going to look at Turlock's general plan, and our general plan has to be better and be more business, oriented for them to want to bring it here. So as we put together our general plan, we also have to keep in mind that we still have to attract developers and investment folks that are actually going to do the building. So I just want to make sure it's not missed on anyone.
Being realistic and pragmatic. Mr. Dennis.
Kind of going to with walkability too is open spaces, making sure we have spaces that we can gather as a community for events and everything else like that, for just getting to know your neighbor. Also, an opportunity for us is looking at the different cultures that we have here. That's a highlight that makes us unique as Merced, and making sure that we incorporate that. And also incorporating our local artists into the first stages of development, because we're talking about beautification, instead of thinking of artists as an afterthought, putting them into the development at the very beginning, so they're already incorporated with murals or statues and other public art aspects.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Michael, we'll take it back to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your input, everyone. I know I have multiple pages of notes. I know at one point Brent texted me and said, "We can hear your pages. We can hear you scribbling." So I had to put myself on mute. But I have an extensive list of notes here, and we have the meeting recording. So we really, truly appreciate your candid feedback with us. What I'd like to do next is just go over some next steps and wrap up the rest of tonight's. So what we have and what we've been working with your city staff is an engagement strategy. We've heard a lot this evening of having robust outreach. I think we've outlined some ways that we're planning on doing that. We have some initial community workshops that we're planning and are already scheduled. We're also currently finalizing and working through some stakeholder interviews where we've identified through city staff, key individuals, developers, architects, business members of the business community, and that we're conducting one-on-one interviews with. That's also part of our general outreach strategy. And then we're also collaborating with city staff on a general plan audit. This is one of the first deliverables that our team will prepare as part of this project, in which we will go through each of the existing general plan elements. I think it's over 1,000 pages, if I'm not mistaken, with your EIR attached when we looked at it. But documenting each of your goals, policies, and programs within your existing general plan, and then working with your city staff to refine those and ultimately bring you a list that you can review in its entirety within the element. And then what we're also working on currently is a existing conditions and trends workbook. Think of this as a snapshot in time of Merced, where it's been and where it is today. And we use that as a tool as our starting point and analysis in our environmental impact report. So it's a really helpful, comprehensive overview analysis of all of the topics that the general plan will address will be in this deliverable. We'll have an entire workshop dedicated to going over this particular item and also receiving additional feedback. Next slide. So here are some upcoming touch points and some critical dates for you all to note. I think Brent mentioned we've tried to plan these accordingly as best as possible. There is the understanding that some of these dates may change just given availability of the chambers. But we have our second CAFG meeting tentatively scheduled in the council chambers on October 8th. I don't believe that is changing anytime soon, in which we'll be going over our existing conditions, that existing conditions report I just had mentioned.
We have our first community workshop planned for Thursday, October 23rd. That's going to be at the Sam Pipes Room in City Hall. It's going to be an exciting, our first real touch point with the community. It will be heavily advertised and posted on our website. We can definitely provide you materials for various outreach as well if you would like to conduct it within your various communities and districts. And then we also have our series of CAFG meetings, 3 through 5. Those are scheduled for November 10th. We have one scheduled for January 28th. And then right now we are just tentatively scheduled for a February 8, 2026 meeting, which would be our meeting number 5, in which we'd be reviewing the draft vision and guiding principles developed as part of the public outreach process. So Brent, I think that will do it, at least for our presentation. Though I'll hand it back to you in the chambers to see if there are any other questions from the members and to wrap up the rest of the presentation.
Perfect. So that does conclude the first CAFG meeting. I'll hand it back to the mayor, or if city staff has any additional comments.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Johnny, Lee, anything else?
We're here for questions if you have them, but I think that Brent and Michael and Deecha really captured what the effort is. And as always, we are here for you. If you have additional questions offline, you can get a hold of us, and we'd be happy to answer and clarify anything if you need that.
Thank you. This has been really great. I took a ton of notes too, so thank you so much. I look forward to the future with you.
And I just want to make a final appeal again. I know I've mentioned this, staff's mentioned this, Michael mentioned this. If you have any suggestions on outreach, we've heard some tonight from council member, any suggestions on venues for workshops, any suggestions on community groups to reach out to. We have a list already started with city staff, but we can always augment it. This process is always going to be moving. It's complex, but we want to make sure that we get as much outreach as possible throughout this effort, through all different milestones. So please, if you have any suggestions, modifications, it's part of your role. Reach out to city staff. They'll get in touch with us, and we can make those adjustments as we move through the project.
All right. Thank you, Brent. Thank you to your team. Thank you all for your hard work, and thank you to the group for obviously a very what's that? Keith. Oh.
Can you share that information with us of the outreach that you've done so far in the groups that you would like, and also an easy sheet of contacts with all of us so that maybe we could communicate, with city staff and among ourselves as well?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, we've done some outreach with our stakeholders and our CBOs. So our outreach has been very targeted and specific. But yeah, I would be happy to let you know who we've already, who we have on our list. And we could put something together, I think, to help you understand what we've thought of. But as Brent said, we only have our own perspectives as well. I think that we've done a decent job of being able to, because Lee and I are involved in some other organizations, so I think we've done a decent job to our best ability of being able to list organizations and groups that would be of interest and who we want to hear from. But yes, I think that it would be beneficial to make sure that you see it. That way you're not doubling up our efforts, but you're adding to our efforts. I think that's something we can do.
All right. Anyone else? Any additional questions? Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I'm a Hispanic woman married to a Black man raising biracial kids, and I think about them and their future. And, when I grew up, I didn't know any of this existed. Literally watching Parks and Rec, the show, got me into the Parks and Rec. And I never knew the city had that. And so thank you, Sarah, for allowing me to do this for their district, but overall Merced, it's such a great opportunity. I hope one day my daughter and my son can be like, my mom was a part of that. And that's really big for me. So thank you so much for all of this.
All right, thank you. All right, welcome to everybody. Looking forward to the process. I think we're all going to get to know each other pretty well over the next couple of years as this goes along. And looking forward to, again, you got a great group, real enthusiastic group here, and looking forward to it. At the end of the day, a great process and a great product, and a product that guides growth. And certain planning documents sit on a shelf and they're kind of ignored, and they can be pretty ineffective because they, for whatever reason, they're ignored. And being able to produce something that actually, the way the city grows and the way the city looks actually reflects what the plan is, I think would be a pretty extraordinary accomplishment. So I think with that, we are adjourned and looking forward to the next meeting. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.